Coming up on today's episode of DLLS Mavs, the good, the bad, and the ugly from the Mavericks' third preseason game. And has Jaz Gortman earned a roster spot on the Dallas Mavericks? All that and more on today's episode of DLLS Mavs. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks insider Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella.
He still works here?
He does still work here. He does still work here. Welcome back, Tim.
I'm the one that hasn't missed a show. All right?
That's a
Kevin,
little callback
I'm
to
not
what
saying
you
I
said.
missed the
Don't
show
think
either.
I wasn't tuning in yesterday
You and I
to
have
see
been
how
here
I was
every time.
discussed, to see how it was talked about.
Tim is skipping shows. Who knows where in the world Mark Stein
Yeah,
is?
imagine one of y'all skipping a show like this week.
Could not be me.
Wow, that'd
It
be
will be
crazy
me.
if it happens.
Don't get it twisted.
That'd
It will be
so
me
crazy if it
on
happens,
Friday.
like maybe on Friday.
If this is any indication of how our show is going to go today, we're going to have a lot of fun here on DLLS Mavs. At Kevin Gray Sports, at Tim_Cato,
Trade Luka.
at Bobby Carella. Relax, Tim. You can always dial up the Stein line at the Stein line for our National and Mavericks NBA insider, Mark Stein. We are not nearly as unhinged as Jerry Jones was this morning, but we'll do our best to try and do that for you here on DLLS Mavs. Mavericks took on the Clippers last night in their third preseason game, fall to 0-3. The good, the bad, and the ugly from last night's game. Plus, has Jaz Gortman earned himself a roster spot on this team? A little Mavericks buy or sell a little bit later on in the show. But for those who stayed up last night to the wee hours of the morning, Tanner, to watch last night's game, the Mavericks fall in their third preseason game to the Los Angeles Clippers as the Intuit Dome was opened for Los Angeles. 110-96 was the final score. Score doesn't necessarily matter, but those are some of the particulars. Quentin Grimes had 20 points for this team and the Mavericks. So let's jump into it. The good, the bad, and the ugly, Bobby Carella, from last night. We'll start with the good.
Oh, thank God.
And I think we'll start with because there was a lot of bad.
That means the segment's just going to get worse, increasingly worse as we go along.
There's some other good things that we'll talk about.
Why can't it be the great, the good, and then the
there was
other?
Let's just keep it all the way 100. Wasn't nothing great about last night's game with 29 turnovers for the Mavericks, but there was some good when it came to Quentin Grimes and his 20 points last night.
Yes, Quentin Grimes was very good. 20 points on 7 of 11 shooting. Now, in his first preseason game, I think he was 0 for, or maybe only made a layup or something. Second game, made some threes, made some jumpers. But this game, last night, dude, that was a very, very, very exciting and compelling player. You
left out his very exciting fan jam performance.
Well, yeah, I wasn't there for that. I did skip that one, but 3 of 7 from 3. He made at least 3 jumpers off the dribble, including kind of like this step back 4-point play, which was awesome. But what was most interesting and kind of like raised my eyebrows at 11:25 p.m. on a weeknight in October is the floor game, the passing. He had a really nice lob to Dereck Lively. He ran a pick and roll, kind of like a handoff into a pick and roll right at the elbow where he kicked out to the corner to someone, Brandon Williams maybe for 3.
It was Brandon Williams, yes.
He had a really nice kind of like, I don't know if he was meaning to give this pass to Lively, but it was sort of this like pocket kind of like laser beam pass in the pick and roll. Lively got fouled. Like he made some really, really nice passes. And, you know, we're going to talk about the bad and the ugly. And spoiler alert, it involves some Mavs guards. And as we're looking around, like, I'm not going to say that Quentin Grimes is the third best playmaker on the team, but I didn't know he had this in his bag, right?
Yeah.
Like if you can get any sort of passing connectivity from Grimes to replace what you're going to be missing without Dante Exum for the next few months, then like, mamma mia, like he could be a really, like he's a good player. And I like, checking my bias
some
at the door.
Dante Exum-esque type qualities last night.
But like better, but more confident.
But yes,
you know,
exactly.
more athletic. Like, check my bias at the door. This is a Quentin Grimes program.
Yes, very much
and
so.
Our guy Adam Modest from the National Pod with Tim Legler, like they're pro Quentin Grimes people too. Like, you're consuming all city media, you're going to be consuming some Quentin Grimes propaganda. And, man, the machine is cranking out some today.
He did have 4 turnovers.
It doesn't matter.
Everybody
doesn't
turned
matter.
the ball
It
over
doesn't
last
really
night.
matter.
Everybody turned the ball over last night.
Compared to his teammates, pretty clean.
Exactly.
Yeah, like the percentage of when you could turn over 4 times on your teammates, turn over 25 more times.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, that's a small number. My only point to point out the turnovers was just to say that no, he's not going to supplant Luka or Kyrie in this regard. And I think if one big picture thing, one ugly thing, not to jump too far ahead, we have specific things to focus in on. This team needs Kyrie and or Luka out there, at least one of the two. Otherwise, they're just going to look sloppy. They're going to look messy. Players are going to play worse than who they are. Because
the good thing is that Grimes was probably the best passer on the team last night. The bad thing is that Grimes was probably
the best passer on the team last night.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Wait, so we're doing bad and ugly. I have another good.
Oh, you have some more good from last night.
I thought PJ Washington looked really good. I liked his aggression on the offensive end.
Okay.
Bobby might have something to say about that here in just a second. We might have an early fight on today's
disagreement
show.
here.
Yes.
Interesting. You think he looked bad?
I don't think he looked bad. His coast-to-coast drive and dunk was probably the best play of the game.
That was the moment of the game last night.
And that was very validating because, Kevin, you've been driving the PJ Washington interview ship for the last few months. He's been talking about his ball handling, and we've talked about his ball handling. And bring the ball up the floor and let anyone but Luka and Kyrie bring the ball up the floor to save them wear and tear and to get into your offense earlier. And PJ Washington's probably the only guy on the team that can go coast-to-coast for a dunk. But he followed that up with 3 straight turnovers, and it's including getting
doesn't matter.
It's preseason.
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
Preseason.
It means everything.
His teammates turned over 26 times.
That's true. So
Exactly.
Doesn't matter.
But please take care of the ball in transition. He got his pocket picked in the playoffs 2 or 3 times, just bringing it up the floor. Ball security is paramount. If the whole point is to entrust other guys than Luka and Kyrie to establish the offense to get things rolling, you've got to be able to at least get it across the midcourt line.
One of his turnovers was half court, so that means that out of 3, a maximum of 2 could have been in the fast break.
That's very true.
So that's not that bad.
That's the kind of analysis I'm talking about, Kato. That's what I'm talking about.
The half court turnover stood out because it was him trying to drive kind of through players.
Yes.
But I thought he was doing that really well and protecting the ball. And so it stood out to me the one time he did turn it over in the half court. But just having Washington's ability to take a couple drives, pull in a help defender, even if in the process of getting past that help defender, he has to kind of tuck the ball, start his 2 steps. That's still a little bit of movement on the offensive end that I thought, that just adds up over time. It's good to take a few dribbles, get inside, even if it's not leading directly to a shot or to a pass. That is just the type of movement and circulation you need on the offensive end so that you don't get stagnant. Yeah. Exactly. He did something. He kept doing stuff with it. So I don't disagree with the fast break stuff. Even though I think that's an exciting part of his game that I think we're going to see this season. But overall, just being willing to, have the ball in a not advantageous position and still make a positive something out of it, even if that positive something is never going to show up on the stat sheet.
PJ Washington being on the floor, number one, is a good thing. There was questions about whether or not we would even see him last night against the Clippers. We was able to see him on the floor. We saw him do some things in the open court in terms of the coast-to-coast fast break. One of the things I liked as well is we saw a little more evolution maybe to his offensive game. Had a nice turnaround floater on the block off the glass early in that game as well. Obviously, he's got a little bit of floater game to him. So hopefully, as he continues to develop more aspects of his offensive game, whether it be, from the three-point line, attacking guys off closeouts, posting up a little bit on the block, there's a little bit more I'm seeing in terms of the offensive evolutionary portions of his game, which I think is a good thing for the Mavericks to be able to have some more versatility from PJ in different aspects where he can be in different spots on the floor and make some things happen offensively and look competent doing it for the Mavericks in that way.
Yeah, and it's important because, again, when playing with the starting lineup that we expect to see, teams are almost always going to put their worst defender on PJ.
Mm-hmm.
And so if PJ can win those matchups easily and take advantage of whatever that is, size mismatch or
the one like they had on James Harden in the blocker.
I'm gonna put my butt in your chest. I'm gonna get an easy floater.
Mm-hmm.
Or hey, you're a big guy. I'm gonna drag you out here and then drive right past you. Or you're a big guy. You're sagging off. I'm just gonna knock down this open shot. Be a threat. be productive, be consistently effective, generate offense, generate chances out of these mismatches. And I mean, he did some of that last. It's not like it was all bad or whatever. It's just, dribble the ball.
This is pretty close to the starting lineup we expect. I mean, PJ's in there, Lively's in there, Klay Thompson's in there, Gortman's in there. So it's just a matter of whether Luka or Kyrie, which one of them is taking Hardy's position.
Jeez. Speaking of that starting lineup, the ugly from last night. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Real quick. I see Ali there. I'm not hating PJ. Literally yesterday, I almost had an existential crisis because I thought PJ was going to miss a lot of time.
That's true.
He's the only guy on the team that can do what he does. It's just, don't dribble the ball off your leg in transition.
Man, I didn't listen to that part of the show.
You should have.
Yeah, well, you should.
Yeah. You should have.
Well, it's driving. It's a YouTube show.
Listen, okay, relax. All right.
I listened to the first little part.
Well, the ugly from last night. I wasn't looking at my
phone for the record.
Jeez, Tim. The ugly from last night. We got to talk about it real quick.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we do.
Change the subject.
Because Klay went 0 of 9 from the field
Can we zoom in on just me and Kevin and we'll...
Yeah, don't worry
I can't do
about
this.
Bobby.
I can't do this.
Yeah, he went 0 of 9 from the field. Didn't make a three-pointer last night either. Not a great night for Klay, but I will say one of the caveats, and I'm sure you guys noticed it as well, a lot of contested looks that he took last night in the game. There wasn't a lot of open space, I thought, for most of the shots that he took. That will not be the case when Luka and Kyrie are on the floor together. But you saw what can happen when he doesn't have that open space. It can get a little bad at times, and last night was one of those times, unfortunately.
It worried me a touch, but just a touch. I mean,
yeah,
he's the biggest beneficiary of Luka and Kyrie. That's what Klay Thompson is going to be. There's not even a question about it. Like Klay Thompson is the player that is going to thrive next to Luka, with Luka, playing with Luka. That's where his shots are going to come from. He didn't have anybody to screen, and he didn't have anybody else who was dragging attention from him. I do think that his gravity was creating open shots. Like, you still saw his gravity and that it was pulling the defense around. I just thought that the shots didn't... It wasn't just that the shots didn't go in. I agree with you, Kevin. Like, I didn't like the shots he was getting. I didn't like the ones he was taking. I didn't like how they were coming within the flow of the offense. I'm not concerned about that once Luka's out there. I am a little concerned that just a wee bit concerned, or maybe not even concerned, because once Luka's out there, it's going to be fine. I am just acknowledging that in absence of the two superstars, he wasn't really able to get and create good shots for himself. And it's just something to note.
Yeah, I mean, he is obviously he's a better player than Tim Hardaway Jr. We've said this a lot, but think of him within this team and the system as essentially a Tim Hardaway Jr. replacement / upgrade. When playing alongside Luka and or Kyrie, and Tim is getting great shots, he's usually really good. When playing with backups or whenever those guys are out, usually he wasn't as good. The quality of the looks goes down. The Mavs were trying to run some quick hit stuff for Klay, and it wasn't really creating a lot of space. They were face guarding him a little bit. A lot of his shots came late in the clock or were kind of forced. Like, I'm not too worried about it. Off the dribble, sometimes he was going into space thinking it would be there and it wasn't. And that is probably like just get a feel for the spacing and the timing and everything. It is preseason for everybody.
Yes.
If he's 0 for 9 in March or April, then
we have real concerns.
I'll be sad.
Or 3 of 30.
Yeah,
over multiple games.
Yeah, but I mean, it really, it wasn't pretty for the entire offense last night for the most part.
And honestly, there is a non-zero chance that at some point this season he does go 3 of 30. He can be hot and cold.
Yeah,
like,
that's
he can
what
be a streaky
shooters
shooter.
do, man.
He's been a streaky shooter, especially over the past few seasons. He's had some cold slumps.
For every 10 of 12, he's going to have a 2 for 12. Like,
exactly.
That's just the nature of the beast.
The point is that if he has a streak, a stretch like this, you also still expect, and we do still expect, there's no doubts, there is no hesitations that this is not that he's not going to make shots. Nobody's concerned about that. He's going to have a heater. This just also comes with the territory of a aging role player who isn't quite who he was. Still a very good player. Will be much better once Luka and Kyrie are out there.
And Klay will also do other things to keep himself engaged on the floor as well. And we saw that in his first preseason game.
Yeah, like 4 turnovers. Wait, no.
Relax, Tim.
No.
All right, turnover Tim is what we're dubbing him today.
Come on.
Turnover Tim over here, because he's going to point out every turnover that the Mavericks had last night. But Klay's going to remain engaged. He's going to be a better passer, going to defend. He's going to do some other things that will allow him to have more of an impact on the game versus maybe some of the folks who are not here anymore would not have when they didn't shoot the ball well from the three-point line. More on the Mavericks and the Clippers from last night, what we learned about this team. Jaz Gortman, did he earn a roster spot? We'll talk about more of what happened from the Mavericks and the Clippers. Call coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But first, let me talk to you about Temperature Pros, family owned and serving all of DFW. You can get yourself a nice AC unit and be able to get cooled off in this Texas heat. It's starting to cool off a little bit, but you never know when that heat will get back up once again. They can offer you a free tune-up if you call and mention our Mavericks podcast, DLLS Mavs. Temperature Pros offers free estimates and financing serving University Park, Richardson, Preston Hollow, Carrollton, Addison, and Farmers Branch as well. If you want to make sure that you stay cool in this heat, but also if you want to make sure that you have a nice little bit of heat when it cools off as well, give our guys at Temperature Pros a call. If any customer signs their estimate on any new heating and air conditioning system of any size by October the 21st, you'll receive a full rebate if the Mavericks win the NBA Finals. You can reach them. I know, exactly. You can reach them at 469-209-1184 or temperatureProDallas.com today.
I leave one show and we're giving away free ACs. That's crazy.
Mavericks got to win the Finals.
Only if they win the Finals.
Got to win the Finals. Shout out to Temperature Pro.
And if you want to win the Finals, and if you want to look good while you're doing it, you should get yourself a pair of Shady Rays. That's why I wear them. They fit my giant head really well. I have really sensitive eyes. These do a great job of like dimming these lights that are right in my face that are making me look real pasty on your screen, but they're not even bothering me right now, and I look super hot while doing it. So shout out Shady Rays. More than 300,000 people have given them a 5-star rating, and you can join the ranks if you get yourself a pair today. And if your shades ever go missing, if they ever take an unexpected hit, if you wear them outside, they fall off, you step on them, if you lose them, whatever, it doesn't matter. Shady Rays is going to replace those bad boys. And if you don't even like them, you got 30 days to return them worry-free. So there's literally no excuse. Look hot. Get yourself a pair of Shady Rays. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 folks.
Who else stood out for the Mavericks and Clippers as the Mavericks played their third preseason game as they get ready for their final one on Thursday? We'll have a full pregame and postgame show here on DLLS Mavs. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports here on YouTube for all of our fantastic shows, and download and subscribe to the podcast as well, wherever you get your podcasts for free. Who else stood out last night between the Mavericks and the Clippers as these guys continue to try and earn roster spots? A little Mavericks buy or sell coming up here in about 10 or 12 minutes. But gentlemen, as we look at up and down the box score last night and our observations from last night, other guys that had good performances or made impressions on you based off of what you saw last night, Tim Cato?
Well, I was going to ask Bobby who you wrote about.
Well, on alldlls.com/Mavericks, you can find out. But one guy that I wrote about that we have not talked about yet was Dereck Lively.
Good guy to write about.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about him a little more in the next segment, but there was a play early in the game. It was a high pick and roll. He switches off to guard Harden, and he did the one thing super well, took away Harden's left hand. That was great. He did the next thing you have to do really well against Harden, which is crowd the step back, so he's not just going to ease into that. He did the third thing super well, which is get close enough to take away the step back, but stay far enough away to where he doesn't blow by you. Mm-hmm. And he did the fourth thing really well, which is not foul him. And Klay stunning in the gaps, PJ rotated, Gortman. It was a really good defensive possession as a whole team, but that was very compelling to me. I don't think Lively's going to switch off and guard ball handlers 50 times a game or anything. I'm not even sure he's going to do it 10 times a game this season. But every time he's done it so far in the preseason, he's done really well with it. He was good at it in the playoffs last year. There was another play last night where Harden gets this step-up screen in transition, is going downhill. It's just him versus Lively. Lively picks him up at the top of the key, tracks him all the way to the basket, strips him clean, out of bounds, Mavs ball. He was really, really good.
Had a nice chase down block last night as well.
Yeah, and if he's able to step out on smaller players, then he's going to the limit does not exist.
I bet we do see it 10 times a game. I think 10 times.
I hope so.
It should be and this is probably how the Mavericks are looking at it. It should be the auto defense for pick and roll when there's 10 seconds or less on the shot clock.
Yeah.
Or at least
sure.
8 seconds or less. That's kind of how the Mavericks or a modern NBA defense thinks about things. You have different pick and roll types or different coverages depending on situations. And sometimes the situations is which players are involved. If a 3 and a 4 are screening for each other, of course you're going to switch that because the guy guarding the 3 and the guy guarding the 4 are guys who can probably swap over. That's why, fundamentally, that's why you see the 1-5 pick and roll so much. You also want the most different type defenders brought into the pick and roll. But I think any time that you see a 1-5 pick and roll with about 8 seconds left on the shot clock, it should be a switch because you want Lively near the rim. But if there's only 8 seconds left, that's a fantastic situation to say, hey, we trust the big man to just bother this guy. And he's going to have, if he forces him to a pass, like all of a sudden it's 3 seconds left on the shot clock. And,
and
that's
he's lobbing
where,
a grenade to someone.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the defense feels really good about itself. I thought Lively was definitely more good than bad. I did note that he was a little sloppy with his passing. Again, everybody was in this game, but his were half-court passes that specifically I want him to be making in the regular season, or I hope that he can be making consistently in the regular season. And he just missed some of those. There's just nobody to blame. Maybe just the time and the chemistry and the rhythm will come throughout the season.
Road preseason game. I'm sure they were up to no good the night before, too.
He had a nice pass to Quentin Grimes.
Is there something you can do out there?
Yeah, there are things that you can do out there. There's a lot
they're
of
staying
things.
near the beach. They're not downtown.
Kyrie hosted them
clubs.
at their house, so they had a good time out there as well.
Yeah.
But he had a nice pass too to Grimes for a basket. I thought Dereck Lively had last night as well. And I want to go back to something Bobby said because defending out in space for his size and his length and have the intelligence to be able to start to work in space much better. That just, again, gives this defense another element and dimension to be able to think about if you're an opposing offense, that now Lively can get out here in space and do it effectively enough to really cause havoc for guys that are trying to either make different kinds of passes or trying to get to the rim. That kind of defensive force there is another part for Lively I think that Mavericks fans should get excited for.
So, go ahead.
Only doable if Washington or eventually Maxey or whoever is back there.
Yeah.
The Mavs don't have a whole lot of size or necessarily even athleticism throughout the roster. The way they did last year with a healthier Maxey and Derek Jones, and so if Lively gets beat, there's nobody to help.
Yeah, somebody behind. Yeah,
there's nobody to help behind you.
Yeah, and that's why you don't want to be switching him out down to guards with like 16 seconds.
Yeah, because then they can drag you way out to the deep end.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you've lost your main rim protector.
Yeah,
that's why it makes sense more as a 10 times a game late in the shot clock. And again, situationally, some opponents you're going to have to do it more.
If he can do that,
yeah, it helps a lot.
I will say there's apparently, so we've talked about and there was some I don't think fully serious buzz about, oh my God, he's Giannis. There was a Giannis moment, or a moment he could have been more Giannis-y, and it was his very first jump hook. It was about a minute and a half into the game, and he gets it, and he's kind of at the low block, but his defender is just now engaging him. If he had, I'm very curious that at some point in his career he can spin off that and then just get all the way to the rim. I don't think it's implausible to expect that out of him. He did not do that. He did not do that at all. He kind of went into his slow rhythm, bump, turn, hook, and he missed the shot. He made one later in the game. Maybe made two. Made at least one later in the game.
Yeah.
But on this one, it was a situation where the paint was so open that I think he can just turn off there and hit it. Or he's not even fully facing the basket when he grabs it.
I think he was definitely just trying to do the hook shot.
He was trying to do the hook shot.
Spring training, pitchers I'm going to throw a slider on the first pitch every single time for the next 3
years.
I agree.
I agree. But you know what is a higher percentage shot than a jump hook?
A dunk.
A dunk or a layup. And I think that is the type of, that's the type of moment where I want to see. It doesn't always have to be that jump hook. He clearly is a little bit of a rhythmic, of a kind of a technical player. But a lot of his technical passes that we've been so impressed by are also very, very fundamental, or very academic in a way. I guess what I'm trying to say is he knows where the open guy is going to be, but it's more about it's not a read and react situation. He just knows because he's a film student, because he's got very
good
smart.
Instincts. Yeah.
But
he'll get more fluid with it.
I just want to see a little bit more fluidity with that.
By the way, real quick,
I think we can get that out of him. And the same thing goes for people are saying, oh, is he going to be an all-star in the West? To me, very clearly, he's not there yet. Don't set expectations too high because they're already so high. There's no need to do that with Dereck Lively.
He could be, though, if he starts knocking down those threes. I know y'all saw the out-of-bounds play.
Which one was that? He took the three?
Took the three. Yeah. At the top of the key. He missed it, but you could tell it's coming.
Oh,
he flashed up to the top of the key, or to the top of the three-point line. Missed it.
How badly did he miss it?
No, it wasn't bad. It was off the back of the rim, but it wasn't bad. The shot looked good. Form looked good. He
made
took it with
4 of
confidence.
6 free throws. So
yeah,
that is better than last season.
20 points per game incoming.
67% is better than last season.
Book it.
20, 10, and 3 this year. That's my expectation.
Hot take 20, 10, and 3 for Dereck Lively.
So he is going to be an all-star.
Exactly.
He'll be all NBA.
That was my hot take before we, during the
Oh,
season.
that was,
that Dereck Lively is going to be an all-star this year. So don't put your wet blanket over my Dereck all-star.
Well, I did at the time, but now after seeing him for a few games, I still think he's awesome.
That's good.
And I still think that expecting or wanting him to be an all-star is a touch too much. If the team's really good, you know who's going to be an all-star?
Just a hater.
What a hater.
If the team's really good, do you know who's going to be an all-star?
Luka and Kyrie.
Maverick?
And
it's going to be
Dereck Lively.
Kyrie. It's going to be Kyrie.
Dereck Lively.
We can't get 3 all-stars?
PJ Washington.
There's no
if
scenario.
PJ Washington
Klay
is an all-star this year?
Klay Thompson.
Why not Najee Marshall?
Now we're doing
Quentin Grimes.
Okay,
Lively.
right.
Let's get the whole squad. If the Mavs are undefeated,
okay, rank your all-stars in order if they were all going to be on the all-star team. Luka.
Gortman.
Relax, Bobby. Luka.
No, that I agree with.
Luka, Kyrie, Lively.
Omax.
Lively would be
Thompson
third.
Would be the 4 in order.
What
for
if
me.
Gafford is shooting 100% at the All-Star break?
I mean, yeah, he's going to be.
I know Bobby's doing bits, and I know Kevin's trying to keep us on track, but what scenario? Like, how many wins would Dallas have to actually get 3 different All-Stars in this conference?
They would have to be.
They would
40
have to be,
and 10.
Like, seriously,
At
it would
the
have to be
All-Star
something
break?
like that.
Yeah, they'd have to win 4 out of every 5 games and be.
If the Mavericks have a way above what the pundits think, like better than even the optimists are thinking, like the Mavs, even Mavs fans optimists.
Yeah,
that's still a scenario where they have 2. So
damn, even if they went like 40 and 10, they can only get 2
maybe
all-stars?
If Kyrie misses like a dozen games, just misses a few too many, but Dallas has to have a second all-star because they've been that good on the season.
I want full Atlanta Hawks.
What
year was that? Was that 2016, 2017? Where they had 4 of the 5 starters in the All-Star game?
Was it
pretty
16,
sad
17?
year in the NBA?
You remember that?
Yeah.
Sad year in the NBA.
The Hawks read out 4 All-Stars of the starting 5 in that lineup that year. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm looking through my notes, and I have one more thing to mention before we get on to a more scripted. Yeah. It's just so cruel to sag off of Derrick Jones Jr. in the same way that Dallas tasked him to do, like all of last postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was their designated. You don't have to guard this guy. And it's just cruel to do it because he was the guy who was given the designated, you can play off this guy
leave him open. Leave him
open. So
it's
just like, yeah, Derek, how does it feel to be on the other side? I just thought that was cruel.
I think he still
did he show some little mid-range
dunks though? Yeah,
yes,
he made a pull-up jumper.
He made a pull-up mid-range jumper. I was like, what is going on here?
Took Klay off the dribble, I think, and I'm like, dude, chill out.
He made a pull-up jumper. I want to say like every series, like once a series.
Yeah,
throughout the until the finals at least.
It kind of jump scared me a little bit when he did it last.
He popped up with some.
Okay.
He had a crazy one, either Game 5 or Game 6 against the Thunder, like a little turnaround fall away that more or less clinched the game. Anyway, that's it for me.
Yeah, I remember Jason Kidd throwing him, picking him up, that kind of thing.
Yes, that was the. I think that was the exact play.
Yeah, that was the moment there. Mavericks took on the Clippers last night. Preseason game number 3 in the books. Who else stood out in a little Mavericks buy or sell? We'll do that next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
I know, however, everybody missed me on Monday. I was in Austin. I'd been in Austin to see a game, a soccer game. Pochettino debut for the U.S. men's national team. Nice. Went well. Won 2-0. Undefeated era has begun. If you want to go see the start of an era, an undefeated win, or honestly any other event, any other live event at all, Game Time is the place to go get your tickets for that event. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks, and it makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. It filters out the fluff. Nobody wants fluff over here. And it shows you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The curation just makes it easier to save more on sports, on concerts, on comedy, on theater, on all of this. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
So I think I can pretty confidently say that Dereck Lively's floor is multi-time All-NBA and future Hall of Famer.
I like that.
If you want to get your own floor, hey, don't go to a big box store, all right? Because you're just going to get approached by a bunch of grifters. You might talk to someone today who was working in plumbing yesterday. No, if you want to get flooring, hey, talk to our friends at Empire Today. They live and breathe flooring, so you can be confident you're getting honest and upfront advice. They pride themselves on their convenient shop-at-home service, allowing customers shop for floors where they use their floors. So you can see what things will look like with your lighting, your decor, and you can make an informed decision on your flooring future. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
A little Mavericks buy or sell here on DLLS Mavs. Has this player earned himself a roster spot? And do the Mavericks have the best tandem at center in the league today? A little Mavericks buy or sell. And a little bit later on in the show, ESPN has their NBA ranking players 100 through 51. A couple of Mavericks making an appearance in ESPN's NBA rank. Who they are, we'll let you know here a little bit later on in the show. But gentlemen, as the Mavericks now have got 3 preseason games in the books, they take on the Milwaukee Bucks on Thursday night in their preseason finale. Hopefully, we will see Luka Doncic as well as he continues to work back from his calf injury. PJ Washington did get on the floor, but there was one player who continues to make a splash when it comes to the Dallas Mavericks, and he has made himself somewhat of a household name. And last night, gentlemen,
household name.
No, he literally is leading. He is on the thumbnail for our program today. I never thought we would be.
And every household watches us.
That's very true. That's right.
Gortman.
Jazian Gortman last night continued his strong preseason for the Dallas Mavericks. So, in a little Mavericks buy or sell, you could also play in the chat as well. Make sure you're hitting the like button if you're here. We're over 100 people watching, so I need more likes on the video. A little Mavericks buy or sell, gentlemen. After 3 games, Jazian Gortman should be on the Mavericks full roster. Buy or sell.
Is that implying 15-man or two-way?
15-man.
Oh, 15.
Boy.
15-man.
You know what?
We're getting spicy today.
I'll buy
15-man roster.
I'm buying that.
You're buying that Jaz Gortman should be on the 15-man roster.
Oh, I'm selling that. I don't think there's a need for him to be on the full roster. He should make the team. I'm buying the heck out of that.
Okay.
I think the need for him to be on the full roster is that he's better than guards that are currently on this full roster.
Ooh, we'll get to some of that here.
So,
just
okay,
go ahead and name
we're going to talk about one of the guys with the very next question.
We're gonna talk about Spencer Dinwiddie in a second.
Yeah, but
look at Tim's.
Let's just say what people are thinking.
Turnover Tim,
It's not a
spoiling
big
the segment.
secret.
Tim, what's going on
It's
today?
not some big secret that
the thing that Jazian Gortman does well is he just is able to get to spots. Like, he is able to get to spots, and that I know that's like the most what's the word? Not opaque, obscure thing to say. But Jaden Hardy is now in his 3rd season, and Jaden Hardy can't really necessarily get to his spots all the time. He can't always break down a defense. Spencer Dinwiddie does not look like he has a high gear, and for as deep as this team's guard rotation is, it's not feeling too deep right now with Luka out and with Kyrie in and then out and with Dante Exum out for 3 months. They need guys that can do something and get somewhere. This is a team that doesn't have a whole lot of quickness and burst and athleticism from the wing spot. You think of like Klay, Quentin Grimes, PJ, there's just not a lot of speed. Gortman is fast. He's creative. He can get to his spots. He's better than probably multiple guards on the team right now. So buy it. Screw it. I mean, I don't think that he's going to be an all-star or anything the way that I think Dereck Lively is going to be a Hall of Famer by next week.
That's right.
But I think that Gortman is better than players on the team.
Push the propaganda. That's right.
And players on the team that are making the minimum. So you might as well.
You know what functionally the most important offensive skill is?
Put the ball in the basket.
Yes and no. Like, if you really look at everything that an NBA player does, that's the most. You're right.
Play hard,
that's
have
fun.
Yeah.
Shout out to DLLS Rangers.
It's drawing a double team. If you can draw a double team,
attention.
So every offensive skill that we actually talk about,
even Richard Case likes
leads.
Gortman.
Richard,
we did it. We
Richard
did it.
likes something.
We did it
about the Mavericks. Yep.
shout out Richard.
Shout out to Richard.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Rickety Rick.
What?
So whether you do it by shooting, whether you do it by, in Gortman's case, a lot of it is just that he is quick enough to get past his man, and that forces the defense to collapse. But if you can draw a double team, if you can collapse the defense, and that's what collapse the defense means. It means gets more players than just your defender coming at you. And thus, that means leaving another player on the court.
Yeah.
It's the if you want to call it a skill, I guess I led as this is the most important skill. Really, it's the entire point of offense.
Yeah,
And
you just have to create an advantage.
create an advantage and have the ability to do that. And the quick, shifty guards that can consistently do that, one of my favorite players in the NBA, and a type of player Dallas doesn't really have. Jaden Hardy is the quickest or the closest you get to a very quick player, but like you said, in the half court, he's not doing that consistently. And Gortman has done it semi-consistently for 3 games. That skill itself, I've seen enough consistency. Maybe his shot isn't actually, it looks great, but maybe he's not going to hit above 50%. I believe he's 7 of 13 in the preseason so far.
Yeah, and for reference,
Sure.
last season in the G League, he shot 30.6% from 3, 40.7% from the floor. So it's not like this is, a future superstar
He's not
hiding
gonna,
in plain sight.
He's not going to hit those like little floating
But it is
floaters from 8
cool.
feet all the time.
But it was cool.
But
But
he
to me,
feels good out there. He feels like he belongs out on the floor. In a lot
the
of
skill
ways.
that matters, what I'm seeing from him, like I was saying, it's not that he's making all these shots. I think he's probably exceeding his shot making ability a little bit during preseason so far. I don't think he's exceeding his ability to get past a defender. And that's the skill that is really drawing me to him and making me very, very interested and insistent, in fact, that he's got to be on the roster in some way or the other. Like, look at the two-way guys. We don't really know about Kessler Edwards. Decent chance that he gets some minutes.
Brandon Williams.
But out of Brandon Williams and AJ Lawson, which player is more likely, out of those 2 players and Gortman, which of those 3 players is most likely to actually play a role when Dallas needs them to this season and be productive with it?
based off their lack of guard depth right now.
Yeah, I think Williams is fine.
Yeah.
I do think he's fine.
Yeah, I think Williams is solid too. I like his shooting a lot. I still think Williams is a good player. Given where the guards are right now, I'd be fine taking both Gortman and Williams as 2 of the two-way guys.
From Catalyst, they were really high on Jaz Gortman as well. There was I saw a Gort Berea comment as well in the chat.
That's awesome.
Gort Berea.
Yeah, that's an interesting one there. I kind of like that. Proud Vet says solid 3-point shooter.
Because they can't be GG. There's already GG in the NBA.
Yeah, exactly. So Jaz Gortman making some impressions, goes about 6'2", 6'3",
I mean, why not Jaz
185.
Berea?
He's 6'2" or 6'3". He has a 6'9" wingspan.
Yeah, it does
This
have
is
a
the
long
player who
wingspan,
also plays,
yes.
or at least should be able to play a little bit bigger on the defensive end than his listed height.
Had a nice little defensive play.
And
on
he's
James Harden
younger
last night,
than
too.
Brandon Williams as well. He's, 21?
Yeah, he's a rookie. Yeah, 21,
Brandon
22 years
Williams, which we talked about. I only bring up Brandon Williams. I don't think that they're necessarily competing for the same two-way spot. I don't think they need to be necessarily. I'll put it that way. But we talked earlier last week, the week before that, about it was last week. We talked about, well, can you have 2 like-for-like players? Yes, you can. But also, if Gortman is proving as much as Brandon Williams, Gortman is younger. He's a little bit bigger, or at least he looks a little bit bigger to me. And all of that adds up to, if you only want to pick one, there's reasons why you go Gortman, even though I like Brandon Williams. I think he's a good player.
Gortman last night, 5 of 11 from the field, had 13 points, making a real impression
21.
on Mavericks
Gortman
fans.
is.
The 21-year-old doing well last night. Buy or sell, gentlemen, as we continue here on DLLS Mavs. You can play along in the chat as well. Speaking of guards, is Spencer Dinwiddie playing himself off of the Mavericks roster? Let us know in the chat. Is Spencer Dinwiddie playing himself off the roster after struggling once again last night in preseason game number 3, gentlemen?
I'd sell that. I think that's a little premature.
Okay.
So
So you're selling on the idea that he's playing himself off the roster, okay?
I'm assuming that he's kind of like one of Nico and Kid's guys. So I'm not sure that they would cut him based on a few bad preseason games, but
He had a real
in
bad
terms
air
of
ball
quality,
last
I'm
night.
buying
That was not
yeah,
great.
he hasn't looked good in the preseason. He struggled at times for a lot of last year and the year before. got to see something because we've said, I don't know if he's playing every night or whatever, but the idea is for him to fill in for Luka or Kyrie when they're out and not miss much of a beat. There's a lot of beats missing over these last couple games.
Some real bad beats.
Yeah,
far.
It's tough. Now it is early, whatever, but they need way more from him.
Yeah.
If that's the role they have in mind for him.
Yeah.
Ronald brings up that he wishes Dallas would sign Dennis Smith Jr. instead of Spencer Dinwiddie. I was at least going to throw that out there.
I was a big proponent of that.
Yeah. I still believe Spencer Dinwiddie is a very good spot-up shooter, a three-point shooter. I think he's going to fill that role just fine. I think he will hit shots. He was still good at that. He's been good at that ever since he left Dallas. He was still pretty good at that in Brooklyn, at least on the spot-up looks. It is noticeable that when he went to the Lakers, when he finished last season with the Lakers, he shot 41% on twos. It's the two-point shooting that is just completely. It looks like he has no ability to get to his spots inside the arc. Especially does not look like he has ability to get to the rim, and that is very much standing out for me. Especially since he's always been a good, above average passer, but not, just a lights out one. Not someone who's, he can be a little blind to some reads. So I would be surprised if he's not on the roster. I'd be very surprised. I don't think that's where this is headed. But yes, all of this stood out. His poor start stands out.
It's been concerning so far.
Yeah, and the idea that Luka or Kyrie is going to go out and you're just going to sub Spencer Dinwiddie in and you're going to get 70% of what they provide, 60%, some facsimile. Yeah, I'm selling that idea. I'll tell you that. I'm definitely selling the idea that he's a plug and play, not quite as good, but similar style as the two superstars.
Someone asked in the chat if his contract is guaranteed, because if it is, you can't cut him. That is most certainly not true. He's on a minimum, and the Mavs are a little under $3 million underneath the first apron where they're hard capped, so they could absolutely go out and sign a different player. There is no restriction on that whatsoever.
Yeah,
I'm selling on that right now. I'll use the word that JC Kidd likes to use a lot when it comes to this team, the word patience. I'm sure they will exercise quite a bit of that when it comes to Spencer Dinwiddie, especially knowing the kind of effect that he had with the Mavericks making the run to the Western Conference Finals. We'll see if he can start to turn some of that around, because he'll need to, based on the depth that they have right now at the guard position. Last one here on DLLS Mavs for a little Mavericks buy or sell, gentlemen, before we take our next break. Are Dereck Lively and Daniel Gafford the best center tandem in the league today? Buy or sell Lively and Gafford as the best center tandem in the league today?
Sell, because Gobert and Nas still exist, but outside of them, I'm buying.
Okay.
I mean, outside of that, I'm buying.
Yeah.
So I guess I am selling.
You are technically selling.
But are they the second best? Maybe Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, but otherwise, there's really there's not much competition.
And the only caveat is we haven't seen them on the floor in regular season play.
Unless you count Jokic in his backup, just because Jokic is that good.
I mean, I would count Embiid in his backup, Andre Drummond, just because Embiid is so much better in the scenario, and Drummond's an okay backup center. The problem isn't the Gafford part. The Gafford is, how many backup centers are better than Gafford?
Gafford should be starting on half the teams.
Yeah, he should be a starter for sure.
And maybe one or two more. But Embiid is still so much better than Lively that I would take a Embiid and whoever. And in this case, it's Andre Drummond, who's a decent player.
I think that violates the spirit of the question, though. The tandem, I think both Lively and Gafford are better than Drummond, significantly better than Drummond. So but
Embiid significantly increases the tandem-ish portion of this.
I was just unaware that question said spirits.
Well, everything has a spirit, Tim. Everything has a nature.
Everything with a physical form. This question
Tanner,
has no physical form.
Save us here by throwing up Felipe's super chats here on DLLS Mavs.
Felipe!
Shout out to Felipe
41, let's go.
For the $5.41 super chat. Daniel Gafford's plays seems 10 to 15% better. Buy on Gafford for sure.
I think you're going to have a lot of teams trying to buy on Daniel Gafford here very soon, because look around the NBA depth charts and you're going to see a lot of
teams
carnage.
Need centers.
You are going to see a lot of carnage, and your teams are going to see, Daniel Gafford is the backup to a budding star. Maybe we can pluck him.
He would play 37 minutes a night in New Orleans.
Dude, maybe 48.
Man, they could definitely use
maybe 48.
a starting
Gafford
center
for Zion straight up. Who says no?
Mavs.
That's how we play buy or sell here on DLLS Mavs.
Thanks, Felipe. Shout out
to Felipe for the super
You're a
chat.
real one. A homie. My friend.
DLLS Mavs. Coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast, ESPN put out its NBA rank for players 100 through 51. A couple of Mavericks made the list. Where do we think Luka and Kyrie will also jump in on this list? We'll react to that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
Die Hard. alldls.com/die. Not the movie. The club, the community.
Yeah.
And what's better?
It's not a Christmas movie either.
What's
Yes, it
better
is.
than being part
It's on
of a
Christmas.
community? You know, sports viewing has kind of become like an individual experience. You can commiserate with folks online, but that's like candy. I don't know. You can celebrate wins online, but that's like candy. But what's better than actually like really getting to know people, having conversations with people about things other than sports, going
Nothing.
places together, hanging out, sharing memories, sharing playlist recommendations, which I hope all of y'all do in the music channel in the Die Hard Discord server.
Sharing links to Bobby's excellent recaps written at 3 a.m.
Absolutely. And you can do all of that and more if you go to alldls.com/diehard, where for less than $7 a month, you can gain access to the entire site, including all paywalled content. You can join the Die Hard only Discord server. You get a free shirt and a discount on all other merch purchases. You get a discount on events, priority access to events. You get a physical Die Hard card. There's literally so many things that you get or will be getting soon via the mail from a factory that was affected by Hurricane Milton in Florida. And from Tim's burned down shirt
Sewing
factory
machine.
apartment.
Right.
I commute from Florida every day, so
Wow, that explains a lot. Actually, you're a
that's why I
Florida
missed the show on Monday.
you're a Florida man. It all makes sense now. But
I'm on bath salts. I'm just showing up on bath salts for the show.
Oh my!
But you can do all that
gosh.
and more if you become a diehard today. So go ahead and do that. Now, I do want to respond to Abdullah. So Abdullah said that I'm missing Markeith when I talk about the cap space, the apron cap space, and that is actually very true. That
Right,
is
there's
very
the
true.
snaps again. Exactly.
Morris is not listed on. Oh my God, what's the site? Spotrack's thing. So the Mavs are actually up against the apron. So if they did want to replace Dinwiddie with a different player, then they potentially would have to find a way to shed salary, which would not be that hard to do. There is a way to do it, but it would be kind of tricky. I assume what they would do in that case.
Are we
is-
done with our ad read?
Yeah.
Okay, just
Yeah.
making sure.
I assume what they would do in that case is offer a two-way contract to him and then use that 30 to 40 games that you can play to find a way to create space like around the deadline and then sign him. So there's ways to do it.
Yeah, the two-way mechanism makes way more sense. And just because they've re-signed AJ to a two-way does not mean that they can't just turn around and waive him again. The two-way just brings him back on the team to continue competing for minutes.
Yeah.
Competing and showing what he can do in training, practice, all that stuff.
Mhm.
You know, he didn't play last night, notably.
No, he did not play last night.
He did not.
Omax barely played. Only got
That
in
is
at the
true.
very end.
That's
That
why
is true.
Bobby stayed up all night to make sure he saw Omax play.
Yeah.
That is not why I stayed up all night. I stayed up all night because I got paid to stay up all night. That's it.
There it is. ESPN put out its NBA rank for players 100 through 51. A couple of Mavericks making the appearance on this list. Who they are, we'll get into in just a moment. And where do we think Luka and Kyrie will eventually land on ESPN's top 100 NBA players this season? But ESPN dropping their ESPN NBA rank a little bit earlier today. Some notable players on the list that we will name before we get to the couple of Mavericks who made their appearance in the top 51 or the top 100 list. And when it comes to this list here, Austin Reeves comes in at number 72. Jared Allen comes in at number 73.
Really?
Yeah. Austin Reeves comes in at number 72. Last year, he was
Okay.
ranked 66 in ESPN's 2023 NBA
Do you think
rank.
if Austin Reeves played on the Pistons that he would be in the top 300?
He's still white.
So he's still,
Factual
he still
statement.
might
Give
be
the game
100.
away.
That's a factual statement. Factual statement.
It obviously
Kato.
helps being white playing for the Lakers, but I'm just saying there's still a chance.
How about
I think he's a top 100 player. I think he might be the 100th best player. But
Speaking of
he's a good
white, Dante DiVincenzo comes in at number 75.
he's light skinned.
He's clear. By the way, you see what's going on in New York? A little
Yeah,
contentiousness
it turns out maybe
between
Rick Brunson is just like not a great guy.
Let me
Who
tell
would
you
have thought?
something.
Who would have thought?
Dante DiVincenzo wanted all the smoke with Rick Brunson the other night in New York City. Of course, Dante DiVincenzo with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Knicks and Timberwolves got together. and it's a little spicy between Jalen's daddy and
Rick Brunson saying too much, Rick Brunson doing too much. That's the first time. Never happened before. Never happened before.
I shouldn't say too much, but there's a few things that were said that were like, I've heard that before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Tease us there.
A few things said about
also-
Brunson that I was just like, I've heard that said by others about him.
Since we're talking about white NBA players, Tyler Hero comes in at number 76 on the ESPN's NBA ranks. So hopefully you got your fill. Oh, you want another one? Number 78, Brandon Pajemski comes in at number
Also
78. Also light skin?
Yeah, not white.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of light skin, Klay Thompson comes in at number 71. I can say that. You two cannot say that. Number 71, Klay Thompson comes in at number 71. Last year was 41st in the 2023 NBA rank.
Wow. Okay.
ESPN saying, quote, Thompson slipped 30 spots after averaging just 17.9 points per game and shooting 38.7% from the three-point range last season. It ended up being the Splash Brothers swan song with the Warriors, as the 34-year-old future Hall of Famer said after joining the Mavericks in free agency. Thompson firmly believes he, quote, has a lot of great basketball left and is eager to prove it while playing for a contender in Dallas. The Mavs hope Thompson's title experience that is, and three-point shooting are the missing elements needed for them to take the final steps to a championship in Dallas, writes ESPN's Tim McMahon. Speaking of that potential feeling, Nico Harrison on SiriusXM's NBA radio had this to say about Klay Thompson and what he believes he can do to help the Mavericks this upcoming year. Take a listen.
What was that decision like in terms of getting him into the Dallas Mavericks organization, and what's the vision behind it?
Honestly, after the finals, we felt that we were close. Well, we knew we were close, and I kind of say this, and it has like a good ring to it, but we were a Klay away, and we feel like he's the guy that can take us over the top.
We believe that Klay is a guy that could take us over the top. We were a Klay away. Do you agree with GM Nico Harrison's sentiment on what he feels about Klay Thompson and what he can bring to the Mavericks?
I agree that a Klay away does have a nice ring to it.
It does.
I think that's pretty cool.
Little rhyme.
The Mavs were okay. So I mean, I guess this is like philosophical or whatever. It's too early. He had one bad preseason game, but the Mavs were a good three-point shooter and versatile defender away from making that series against the Celtics competitive. Can Klay be that guy? I think he can be. They have 82 games plus playoffs to figure it out. But so in that case, sure, yeah.
I know for certain that if you gave Klay Thompson shooting to Derrick Jones, that all of a sudden I don't know who wins that series.
Well, Derrick Jones would be one of the best players in the NBA then.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
He'd be like he'd be Mikal Bridges or
The
something.
Mavs were trying to make him look like that last night in the game against the Clippers. That's for
correct.
damn sure.
I'm just saying, like thinking back, that was a very lopsided series.
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't think Klay Thompson alone swings that series. I do think that this team might still be a half step away from truly challenging. But also at the same time, some of what Dallas is banking on is that Dereck Lively is going to get better, that, they're going to be deeper, have more players they can trust. So I agree and I don't. But again, we've all been very clear. I've been very clear. I think this team is better, and I think Klay Thompson is a good addition. So I guess I'm kind of halfway between what he's saying and what I actually think about this team.
A lot of confidence in Klay Thompson and what he can provide the Mavericks this upcoming year as they try to get back to the NBA Finals. Some other players who made the list between players 151. Klay Thompson was at number 71. Bradley Beal comes in at number 70. Jalen Green comes in at number 69. Brandon Miller coming in at number 68.
That's low.
You feel like that's low?
He's going to go up that rank.
Okay. Kate Cunningham
up that list.
Comes in at number 67. Draymond Green at number 66. Here's a couple interesting ones. Malik Monk at number 65. And Emmanuel Quickley at number 64. Last year he was ranked 92 in ESPN's NBA
feels high
rank.
on Quickley, doesn't it?
That feels high for Monk too.
It feels high for both. I agree.
Bobby's favorite player, Chris Middleton, comes in at number 63 on this year's list. Yep.
Where did that come from?
Because you love the Bucks this year.
You
love the Bucks.
He's like unrankable.
Damn, not unrankable.
Jeez. Because you never know if he's like playing or not, or how well he's going to be playing.
He's not going to be on the floor potentially.
I don't know where to rank him. Is what I'm saying.
Got you. By the way, speaking of injury, Paul George hyperextended knee last night. in the game against
said
the
he'd be
Atlanta
fine.
Hawks. It looks like
I
he'll
think
be
he's
fine
fine.
going there.
Those always look a little scarier than they actually are.
It did look
that type of hyper extension.
Everybody's favorite non-Maverick, Desmond Bane, comes in at number 60 for the Memphis Grizzlies. That's you feel like it's a little low for Desmond Bane.
It's top 50 player.
Okay. Well, at number 56, gentlemen, that's where we get sophomore sensation.
Who's 57, 58, 59?
Oh, you want to know who that is?
I mean, if we're reading all of them.
I wasn't trying to read all of them, but Darius Garland comes in at number 57. Kobe White comes in at number 58 on ESPN's NBA rank. And at number 56, Tanner, it is Dereck Lively the second, ESPN's Tim McMahon writing. Lively wasn't on this list a year ago when he was considered a raw project entering his rookie season. He quickly established himself as an essential part of the Mavs core. Lively is a springy pick-and-roll partner for Luka Doncic and a spectacular finisher. Last year, 141 dunks, shooting 74.7% from the floor. He is just starting to tap into his immense defensive potential as a rim protector who is comfortable switching onto elite perimeter scorers. At 20 years old, Lively projects as a premier center for years to come, end quote.
So 56th best player. How many spots are there in the All-Star game again?
57.
That's right.
Okay, so I take it back. Dereck Lively will be an All-Star this season because there are what's half of that? There are 28 players on each roster.
They don't do a lot of like on these lists. Sometimes they will like they'll choose like the next guy. Like I remember one year after his rookie year, Giannis was like 62nd best on the list. He averaged like 12 points a game that year or something.
Did Wemby make his debut last year in like the top 20 or something?
Yeah, something like that. So they do sometimes.
They were right.
They do,
he is a top 20 player.
Yeah, but like they do sometimes spin forward on young guys a little bit, but for the most part, once you get further down the list, they don't. So they're just straight up saying they think Dereck Lively is already a very, very, very good to great player. Obviously, I agree. I'm Lively.
I agree.
Pilled. I'm so all in on Dereck Lively. I think that this will be the lowest he'll be ranked for a really long time.
Ooh, okay.
Rightfully so. I mean, very good defender, very good rebounder, very efficient scorer.
And throughout the postseason, he was a top 75 player. And I think he will soon be a top 50.
And that might be low. I mean, dude, again, in the playoffs, he was the best big man in every single series he played in.
Yeah.
Like, just think.
Porzingis excluded.
Porzingis played one game, essentially.
I don't know about that. He might have even been better than
Porzingis
KP.
No, come on.
Game one, Porzingis, that was something else. Yeah.
KP's first quarter in that finals game was something I've never seen in my life.
Dude, that was an out-of-body experience for him.
Yeah. Well,
and again, it was.
You also had Derek Jones trying to take him off the dribble. Like
there was that.
That's
Yes.
But that's what a defense like that kind of incentivizes and encourages you to do.
Yeah, I mean, and Lively
I mean,
stuffed the absolute hell out of Gobert and Cat and I mean, Lively was incredible.
But yes, Lively was incredible. He was the top 2 center in the postseason, more or less.
Yeah, and if your competition is like an all-star caliber player,
outside of Jokic, outside of he might have been better than Embiid just because of how Embiid's health was.
He didn't play against them. He played against Cat and Gobert, outplayed them.
Anyway, real quick, no PJ Washington in the top.
No PJ Washington.
I think it's safe to say
51.
So yeah, 1 to 50 is not yet.
1 to 50 is not published.
I think it's safe to say PJ Washington is not going to be considered a top 50 player by ESPN.
I would agree.
The 100th player, Anthony Simons. The 99th player, Chris Paul. The 98th player, Mike Conley.
Chris
97th
Paul in the
player,
top 100?
Herb Jones. Is PJ better than any of those guys?
PJ's better than Chris Paul.
He's better than Anthony Simons.
Better than Anthony Simons.
He's not a better defender.
I think
Herb
PJ
Jones.
Washington could have stuck in at the back end of this.
Monster defender.
Yeah, Herb's better than PJ.
And I get why. And also, like Herb Jones, okay, I understand that you wouldn't rank him over him. Mike Conley, that one's a little closer, but I get it. Al Horford, I get that one. Jalen Suggs, I get that one. Keegan Murray, I get that one.
Horford, come on.
I mean, like at this exact moment, like very soon, that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
And honestly, as I go through the rest of the 90s, I actually agree with most of these. Jabari Smith Jr., I get it. Valanciunas, I don't know about that one.
Dude, come on.
I said, I agree.
Talk about Shadow Realm. Shout
Andrew
out to
Wiggins.
Washington. That's where he's at.
What?
But you also, some of these things are like Andrew Wiggins was ranked 54th last season. And so they dropped him big.
Wiggins was ranked 54th last year?
Well, it was coming off the championship. And he was awesome.
Oh, yeah, that's
true. He was awesome coming off the finals.
Yeah.
Wait, am I dumb? The 23?
No.
No, it was 2 years after. It was 2 years after. Sorry.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, but still, he was better than
And
Bobby's
I
not
think-
feeling it. He's
I don't
not
know.
feeling it at all.
I've already heard 4 or 5 names on this list that PJ is better than.
His
but
face
maybe
when he
not.
said Valanciunas
Maybe
was
not.
like,
I mean,
yeah.
to be fair, he shot 29% from the corners after being traded to the Mavs. Like, he had a really, really good postseason.
Yeah.
His regular season was a little shaky.
Sure.
So I guess there is some still.
So
you
that's
gotta prove
exactly
it
what I was
this.
going to say. I think if you're a ranker for this list, you just don't quite know where to put him.
Yeah.
Because the player he was in the postseason, absolutely, that's a 88th, 92nd sort of best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
But they want to see it a little bit after how inconsistent up and down Charlotte was.
Real quick, Jaren Jackson comes in at 55. One of my favorite players this upcoming season. Baby Jokic, Alperen Şengün comes in at number 54. That might be a little low. RJ
Lively
Barrett,
clears.
It will
Just
be.
kidding.
RJ Barrett comes in at number 53. Franz Wagner comes in at
guess.
number 52.
That's low.
That's low.
and OG Anunoby comes in at number 51.
It's about right.
Franz better than OG.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Offensive versatility a little bit better than OG. OG's
Almost
a
just as good on defense too.
Yeah.
OG's a monster defender.
do we have coming
OG
up this
is good.
week?
OG is a great defender, but
Yeah.
Franz is also very dang good.
Real quick, who you got? Where do you think Luka and Kyrie will fall on this list?
2
probably-
and
okay.
23 or 18.
I think Kyrie's going to fall
Wait,
within
put
the
it-
top 20.
You think so?
I think he'll be in the top 20.
I
I'm
bet
gonna
you he'll
s-
be outside the top 30.
Luka's no lower than 3.
I'm gonna say 23 for Kyrie.
Okay.
What are you putting in?
I'll say 31 for Kyrie.
I'm
You're
going to go
say
20.
31.
I'm going to go 20 for Kyrie. But yeah, Luka finishes no lower than
23.
30.
You said 20
Yeah.
and 31. And then what are we saying for Luka?
I'm gonna go
I'll
2.
I'll hedge my bet. Say 3.
Okay. I think it's going to go Jokic, Luka, SGA.
I think Giannis will be up there.
So you think 2 as well?
Jokic,
I think
Giannis, Luka.
2 for Luka, yeah. Okay. We'll find out. Let us know what you think in the chat.
I'm changing
Ardell,
mine to 3.
Ardell
No,
thinks
sticking with 2.
Luka will finish 2 and Kyrie will finish 22. I see the synergy there from Ardell. You guys good? You guys ready to get out of here?
We're good. We got a show tomorrow, and then we've got our first pre and post game show on Thursday.
Woo! Looking
And then we
forward
got
to that.
a late afternoon special episode on Friday.
That
so
Tim Cato is hosting.
He's only calling it special because we
He's
won't
hosting.
be. Yeah, 'cause he's
we won't
driving
be
it.
here. Yeah, we won't be here.
I think it's going to be an ordinary episode.
Hey, no, it's gonna be extraordinary.
Ordinary just means it's just as good as every other show we do. It's just perfect.
Well,
Stein's
every
going to be
show-
here.
Stein is gonna be here with
All right,
Tim.
it's going to be a great show.
By the way, speaking of Stein, he's going to be back with us tomorrow here on DLLS Mavs. So make sure you tune in at 12 p.m. here on DLLS Sports for another episode of DLLS Mavs. Mark Stein will be live in studio with us here as the Mavericks get ready for their final preseason game on Thursday. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports, and also download and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free. Give them a 5-star rating and write a review for them while you're there. For Bobby, Tim, I'm Kevin. We're DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 12 p.m. here on DLLS Sports. Y'all be good. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.